Hi, everybody. This is Beth from Dragonfly Attic, and I want to talk to you today about something a little different than I normally would talk about. I know I haven't posted a video in a long time, but this was really important for me to talk about. September is really important in my life. It is Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome Awareness Month. Now, a lot of you may not know what that is, but I'm going to tell you. I suffer from it. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is something that a lot of people have and they don't know they have. I believe some of the facts I've read is 1 in 10 women will suffer from it. It is a disease, obviously, of your ovarian system. Um, it causes side effects like hair loss, weight gain, infertility. As a matter of fact, most people don't realize that they even have it until they try to get pregnant. It makes your cycles strange. And I know that's odd for me to talk about on here, but it's really important to me. And I want to tell my story. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I'm only going to tell my story. So, when I was young, and it started when I was in high school, um, I, I started my period very young and it never regulated ever. But unfortunately, the way I was raised, I really couldn't talk to my mom about that kind of thing. So I just went on about, not knowing why and just kept on keeping on, I guess. Um, when I got a little older, my hair started to fall out. I was still in high school and my hair got very thin. It was thick at one point and then it got thin. And the doctor, who was my pediatrician, um, he would have never thought something like that. He just went, oh, hair loss is normal. You should lose 100 strands of hair a day. They literally had me counting the hairs that fell out of my head on the hairbrush. It was crazy. It's just crazy. Um, and I never thought about it again. Then I got a little older. I went away to high school, I went away to college, and my cycle still never regulated. I would go months without them, and then they would come with a vengeance, and I would have them for weeks, sometimes months. It was miserable. Um, I didn't know what to do. So the first time I went to a gynecologist, I went with my best friend. She took me to her gynecologist. And he looked at me and he gave me some birth control pills to regulate my period. Thought that's all the problem was. Well, I never really investigated it any further because that fixed the problem. Um, and then I got a little older and I had been with my boyfriend for quite a while at that point, my first husband actually, and I wasn't trying to get pregnant, but I had stopped taking the pill, and my period never came. So I was all excited, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. We're gonna have a baby. And I was, I don't know, 21. Um, so I went to the doctor. This was a doctor I'd never been to before, and I wasn't comfortable with her. Um, Female doctors are hard to walk into a new one and automatically feel comfortable with them. So the first time I went to this doctor, she looked at me and she listened to everything and she listened to all my symptoms, and of course they did a pregnancy test which came back negative. And she did an ultrasound, and she was kind of hard to understand. She had a very thick accent, but she told me that, and I am not exaggerating, she told me that I was fat and that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome and that I would probably never have children. And she left the room. I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know what that was. That was something I had never heard of before. Um, and I cried. I just started to cry. I left the doctor's office and I was more confused and scared. And I went home and I told my boyfriend, and I went over every night. I called his mom because, again, my mom doesn't talk about these things with me. Um, so I called his mom and I talked to her, and she's like, "Oh, well, everybody has cysts on their ovaries. It's fine. You'll be fine. I have 3 kids. It's okay. You'll have kids someday." And I said, "Okay." And, but I cried. I started doing research. Back then, the internet was pretty much in its infancy. I'm probably dating myself, but the internet was pretty new. And I did as much research as I could. Um, and I found out that this isn't something that there's a cure for. This is something that they manage the symptoms, and there's no way to actually cure it. So I found a different doctor. I called the doctor. I called my insurance company and I said, "Look," I said, "I went to the doctor and she told me this, and I don't understand it, and I didn't like her, and I didn't feel comfortable with her, and I need to go somewhere else." And at the time, I was very uncomfortable with the thought of a male doctor. So they gave me the name of a doctor that was close to me that had good recommendations, and they said that she was a great doctor. So I called the doctor's office and I got the nurse on the phone and I explained to her my situation and what had happened. And she didn't explain to me what the doctor had said to me. She just said, "No, you don't want to see her. You'd like to see Dr. Steve." And I said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Dr. Steve." I said, "No, that's a boy." I said, "I can't have a male gynecologist poking around down there. I don't." She's like, "You know what? He has the best bedside manner. Come in and see him. And if you're not comfortable with him, we'll switch you to somebody else. But you need to be looked at." So I went in and I talked to him for probably 45 minutes, fully dressed, before he started to examine me. He explained to me what I had. He explained to me um, that there is no cure, which I already knew. And he explained to me how they manage the symptoms and how it doesn't necessarily mean you'll never be able to have children, because that was my big concern. That was my main concern. As a matter of fact, my boyfriend had gone with me, my ex-husband. He went with me and he sat there in the room the whole time because I was scared to death to go because I didn't know what to expect. I I saw him for several years, and when we decided to try and get pregnant, I went back and he put me on Clomid. I was already taking metformin, which is a diabetic drug. I'm not diabetic at all. They give it to people with PCOS to regulate the insulin because of the insulin resistance that PCOS. That's one of the symptoms of PCOS is your insulin resistant. So they give you a diabetic drug in order to manage that symptom. So I was already taking the metformin, and he added the Clomid to hopefully stimulate my egg production. It didn't work. Um, but I took it. I took it for several months. Um, and then I got very sick. Um, I ended up having huge ovarian cysts that never broke. Um, one of the cysts grew around my ovary and crushed it. I lost my ovary. Um, and again, when all you want is to have babies, the thought of losing an ovary is, I can't even explain it to you unless you've been through it. Um, they told me on the way to the hospital that when they'd scheduled me for surgery, that they were going to have to remove the cysts. And when I got there, they explained that they may have to remove the ovary. I was devastated. I was in tears. They were wheeling me down the hall to the operating room, and I just couldn't stop crying. Um, because I already couldn't have children, or I already was having an issue having children, and then they told me that I was going to lose an ovary. Well, that just cut my chances in half. And in my mind, my chance was so slim, and now it was cut in half. So I lost my ovary, and it broke my heart. Every month, my period would come because by that point it was regulated. Um, But every month it would come, and every month I would sit and cry. I didn't know what to do. So I got divorced, and then I met my new husband. Um, and I moved to Georgia, and we really wanted to have kids. So the first doctor that I went to when I needed to have my metformin refilled, because this is something you need to be on for life. It's not something that you can just take and it fixes it after a month or two. It's something that it's a maintenance drug, so you have to be on it for life. At least that's what I've been told. Like I said, I'm not a medical professional. This is just my story and what I've been told. So the first doctor I went to was a friend of my husband. Her father was a doctor. And I went to see him so he could refill my metformin. And when I was in there, I asked for a referral to a reproductive endocrinologist. This was before we were married, but I knew that it was going to be an issue. And I still wanted to have children. At that point, I was 37 years old. I didn't have any children, and I wanted desperately to have a baby. Adoption is an option. And that's the option that a lot of people with this disease tend to opt for. Um, there is all sorts of reproductive technologies that people try, but ultimately you have to do what's best for you. Some people can't go through all that and they choose the adoption route, or they choose the route of fostering. But I chose the reproductive endocrinologist route, and I met Dr. Survey. Um, Dr. Survey, he gave me a referral, and well, let me go back. So Dr. Rhodes gave me a referral to Dr. Survey, who is probably the best reproductive endocrinologist in Augusta, Georgia. Um, I've been told he's one of the first that did IUI in the country, which, for those of you who don't know, is intrauterine insemination. But he's amazing. He walks in and makes you feel comfortable, and he doesn't make you feel broken, because that was wrong with me. I felt broken. Um, but I wasn't. I wasn't. And eventually, thanks to Dr. Survey, I had a baby. I have a son, and he's 5. And he is the biggest blessing in my life. Um, but without Dr. Survey, I would have never been able to have him, thanks to this disease. So I think it's important to celebrate the women that have this disease. You know, everybody hears about October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but September is Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome Awareness Month. And I just want to share my story, hopefully, so that somebody else will see it and see that it is possible. It is possible to have a child. Um, you're not broken. You're not. And don't listen to what people say to you. Um, the fact that you can't lose weight is not your fault. It's a disease. Um, it's part of this. Excessive facial hair. Um, you have too much male hormones in your body. I mean, there's just so many things. And I actually am going to include a list on here of some of the things that may be a symptom. And if you have any of these symptoms and you're having any of these issues, please reach out to your doctor. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. And please don't think that you're broken, because you're not. You are amazing. And there is absolutely no reason why you can't live all your dreams and live normally with this disease. After I had my baby, a few years later, we tried again. Again, we went back to Dr. Survey, but unfortunately, it was too late for me. Um, I was too old. I didn't have enough eggs at that point. I was 41, because I had my son 1 week before my 40th birthday. Um, I was almost 42 when we started trying again. But it wasn't meant to be. So my son is the only child, and he's a huge blessing. Then again, thanks to this disease, I ended up with more issues, um, all sorts of excessive bleeding that couldn't be controlled, and I ended up having a hysterectomy last year. Um, that's fixed a lot of my problems because I no longer have a cycle, thanks to that. But I still have the other issues. It doesn't make the PCOS go away. This is something I will have for my entire life. I still take metformin for my insulin resistance. Um, and I just want you to know that this is a disease that I will battle every day. If anybody wants to talk, please leave me a message. I will happily answer you. I just want everybody with this to know that they are not alone and that it's important to get the information out there so that other people know about this disease, because it's not talked about, but 1 in 10 women have it. It should be talked about. Everybody talks about, it's my body, it's my health. Well, why are women's diseases not talked about more? Breast cancer it's a big one. But that's the woman's disease they talk about. There's so many others. So many others. So I have my teal, and if I wish you could see it, I will stand up so you can see it. She's a PCOS warrior. Um, I'll actually put the link to where I got this shirt in the comments. And this month, for the rest of this month, I will have a giveaway on my Facebook page. It's just something small, but I have 24 small items to give away to other PCOS warriors, to other women who have this disease. So please go and like my Facebook page and follow the giveaway. Please join, and if you win, I will send you an email or a message on Facebook. I will get your address and I will ship it off to you. I'm not going to charge you a dime. I want to share with my sisters, because that's what we are to each other. We are sisters. I want to share with all of you something small as my way of, I guess, encouraging you to share what you have and tell your story. And if you're watching this and you also have PCOS, please, I encourage you to make a similar video to this. Explain what you had, explain what happened to you, and please, please share that there are positive things that come out of it. And it is really important to talk about. Share your struggle so people don't feel alone. Because for most of my life, I felt alone in this. I felt like my friends were all getting pregnant. I couldn't go to a baby shower. I didn't want to, my sister-in-law had a baby while I was in the hospital losing my ovary. My ex-husband, the day I got out of the hospital, wanted me to go see the baby. And I flat out refused. I just couldn't do it. I mean, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't the baby's fault. It was nothing that they did. It was something within me. I tried to go to my friends' baby showers, and I would literally go print the gift registry out at Target or Walmart or wherever it was, and I would go to the baby section and I would sit on the floor and cry. It just broke my heart. And I felt alone, and I don't want anybody else to feel that way. Please know you're not alone, and know that we're in this together, and that it's important to share our experiences so that everybody knows that there's somebody who does understand them.